Hello everyone, this is Blender Guppy. In this video, I'm going to model something simple with random flow, and the demo part of this video is going to be how I procedurally shade or texture the model afterwards using the free shader nodes that I have in my Patreon slash Blender Guppy, and that is the simple dirt, the edge mask, and the scratch mask shader node groups. Okay, so let's start, and I'm just gonna create something simple like a cylinder model. So modeling the base, and making sure that it has ample amount of, or not ample, the right topology to affect the randomization. So I'm tagging these verts. So when I quad slice it, I'm going to just use the tag verts versus using all the verts, all the edges. So just the tag verts and in this selection only. So this will not be affected by the randomization since that is an n-gon, but the rest of the faces will be. See that part there? So that's enough for us. Okay, let's go into detail this. Bring the depth or the height of the panel up to 0.005, and the inset, increase the inset, and get rid of the center line. Flip center. I'm using shift, then sliding the property. Press and dragging the property value. Now to get rid of these bands here, subdivision bands, I'm going to use the limit dissolve. So it's not a problem because even though this is curved, this side is already straight, so the quad slice will have no problem quadifying those back. So I'm just looking for a pattern that I can work with, something that I can either model further or use a random flow some more on the resulting surface. Let's use subdivision 1 and radial. Yeah, I think this is good. And let's add some extra um not that, this one. Panel screws. So panel screw, custom captive, and only the tagged verts. Set the margin, limited dissolve. So it becomes, the selected face becomes a single face. and rotation seed. Okay. Also this one, tag verts and margin. I think this one is already folding, so I might just repair it manually. So you see what's happening is the margin goes like this. And the face is already flipping. That's why the screw is flipped. And the effect of the limited dissolve is like this. Oh, sorry, doing that. Maybe it's because of the, we need to increase the degree. Let's try it. So, verts. Whoops, wait. Oh, it deleted them both. Okay. Final screws, custom angle. There we go. But I could work with that and just do this. So what happened was, so limited dissolve and max angle, we increased it, so it becomes a single face. We got rid of the other faces. And then we inserted it like that to create a margin. So that's how it works. So that's why some screws might be flipped because, well, while creating the margin, it goes like that. Too much margin can create distortions like that. So we have limited dissolve to create it, to make it a single face, and then we can use the margin. So tag verts and panel screws. Let's bring it down. You can always use the undo properties to repair the offset, or you can just manually do it afterwards. And wrap around. Okay, that looks good. And here we might use something like random loop extrude. Let's just try it. Clip center to get rid of the faces in the center line, and limited dissolve. Actually, let's not use limited dissolve to maintain the quad structure, so I can push and pull something. Push and pull at the faces. Okay, let's make the islands bigger. Let's use 10%. So in the next update, we have the global seed. So you don't have to individually mess with this, with the loop ratio. You can just use the global seed for them, and also for the depth value. Individual solver. So I can set uh, individual solver and path for each loop ratio. Loop ratio. And this is under 0.1. Let's use some more subdivision. Actually, yeah. And actually, this looks good, but let's uh, find that looks functional, based on our model. Yeah, everything looks good. You can choose. Okay, let's lower the subdivision to make the islands bigger. You can also lower the subdivision to make the islands bigger, of course. So, a lowered subdivision means bigger faces and bigger islands, bigger panels or face islands. Let's try 15%, and introduce triangulation 2% or 5%. So that's the effective triangulation. Sometimes it create arrows like that. Yeah, that looks good. Let's go back to 10% and reduce this to one subdivision. I need to choose something. I need to select something. Okay, if in doubt, go back to number one. If you like a number that a seed value that you like, you can control C to copy it, and then just go pick another one if you like, and then if you like to return the number, control V, or just remember it and manually enter it. So, like that. Okay, let's use that. It's quite simple. I think this could work. Link flat faces and also this one. Let's create final screws and decrease the and just L to pick the islands that you want to keep, and Control I to invert, and X and F to delete the faces. Oh, too much margin. Okay, just gonna reverse that. -1. Okay, maybe not. Um, Wait. Individual origins. -1. There we go. Create some panel details there. And also in this part. Okay, so let's go to shading and select everything. I'm going to create a base diffuse for this, the base diffuse color using the random vertex color, and not use any color at first. Just create gradation with black and white gradation for most of the objects. I'll probably use different color for this, like that. And we can new material using cuber, and then vehicle matte will be the vertex color feature will be separated from cuber and will be set aside as another add-on, separate add-on, but will be a part of the creative flow bundle. Okay, so okay, let's add ambient occlusion. It's like adding an ambient occlusion map, but this is not using any images or image texture. So AL, set this to multiply, and something like 0.5 or 0.6. Okay. Now I'm going to use cycles. So if I'm rendering the viewport and I accidentally speak during the rendering of the viewport, my voice will probably uh, be distorted because my GPU is tied to my audio, noise cancellation stuff. So I will try to avoid speaking during the viewport rendering and explain stuff before rendering. Okay, let's try and see this with uh, viewport render. So next up, I'm going to add the simple dirt. Okay, so this is in my Patreon. You can go ahead and search that up, and it's free to download. Okay, so F4, append, and I'm going to where I saved the file. Simple dirt. Last time I used it in noodles, node 3. So I'm going to probably, so edge mask, scratch mask, and simple dirt. Edge mask first. Oh no, not that. Simple dirt first, and multiply that. Let's see what it looks like. So I'm gonna adjust the settings, and I won't be talking while I do that to avoid distortion. So just watch what I do with the properties. Okay, so but first off, I'm going to create a ground for that nice shadow, ground shadow that will be reflected to the object. Okay, so next up we have so that's our base color, which is provided by the vertex color. We have multiplied the simple dirt. Now we're going to add the edge mask. By the way, if you want to view it not without the effects of the min max, set the minimum to 1. The minimum and the maximum is going to affect the texture. So if you only want the lines, you can set the minimum to 1. So for the texture, I'm just going to use good old noise texture. Set to object and noise texture. Increase the scale. Okay, so 0.4. So what's going to happen is if I use, for example, 0.4 and zero point 0.5, so this is kind of like the color ramp, and this is our minimum, and this is our maximum, and the more they meet like that, it's kind of how they affect the texture. So for example, minimum is 4 and maximum is 5, so it's kind of like the color ramp. So this, so 0.4 for the minimum and 0.5 for the maximum. So the more they meet at the center of the values, the more they will affect the texture. So I'm going to change the ace there, I. Now it's time for the scratch mask. So threshold is the width, offset is what's going to create the scratch effect. Now now we're going to use the the edge mask and the simple dirt for the roughness and the metallic. So the simple dirt and the okay, so I'm just gonna use the end result of this node here to affect the metallic and the roughness. Affect this with the color ramp and with the roughness invert the color. So with pure metallic, which is 1, is going to be inverted in the roughness. So pure metallic 1 means 0 roughness, and 0 metallic means uh, 1 roughness, which is no reflection at all. Which has no reflection at all. Now, now I'm going to use wait, let's try another tag for the roughness. So this is the one that we want. So that's the one that we want instead of this one. So we don't include the color of the vertex color and the AO to affect the roughness and the metallicity. Okay, so plug it to this one here. Let's reduce the whiteness of the value of the scratch mask to make it more, to make the roughness stand out more. Then also use this for the bump. Okay, so that is our shader setup using the noise, edge, and scratch mask texture. By the way, you can also use the ambient occlusion for creating rust effects that emanates from the corners, sort of like this. So the color will come from the dark part of the color ramp. So if I set this to red, for example, these can also be affected using texture right here. Probably subtracts right here, right here or here, and use subtract or divide or something like that. And we can also set this now by using the rust color. And then use another AO for the original effect that we had. We can further affect the color here. If you're using any saturated colors, you can use the HSV node to affect the color still. And finally, you can also use the simple dirt for fonts. So for example, text. Okay, let's delete that. Snap the cursor to the surface here. Text and view 3D cursor. Rotate it this way, or maybe not this way. And 001. The XLS 0154, and change the font if you want. Font. So I'm going to create a new shader for that. Now this looks like it's hanging on top of the surface of our model here. So to avoid that, go to object properties, viewport display, visibility, and turn off in the ray visibility. Turn off everything except for the camera. Now you see that the shadow is gone, and its effect on the gloss is gone, and the views, and it looks like it's a part of the object underneath. Now let's. Okay, I just spoke when it's rendering. Okay, sorry about that. New. Now we're going to degrade the font using simple dirt. I'm going to copy the simple dirt from here. Control C, and then here shader, mix shader, and another shader which is transparency. Control V for the simple dirt, then use it here. So as you can see, the dirt effect in turns create the alpha for the transparency. And let's try and make the letters more obvious, because right now it's unreadable. There we go. And this has many uses. You can also layer it top of each other to create whoops, input it to to itself to create bunch of other effects. That um so that is our procedural shading, using just the without using any images and just using the simple dirt, edge mask, and scratch mask to branch up our model. and we also used it to degrade the lettering on the box. So the files in the Patreon, the post where the files are kept, where the edge mask, scratch mask, and simple dirt are kept, I might um, update them from time to time when I see that some nodes might make it better or something like that. So when I update them, the Patreons will of course be notified. If you're not a Patreon and you just download it, then you will not be notified. Instead, you might want to check the post from time to time, see if the zip file associated with the post has been changed. Okay, I'm going to do a version number so everyone will know if it's changed from their own version number. Okay, so even if you're not a Patreon, you can still see if the file has been changed. Okay, that actually looks that actually looks really good. Okay, everyone. So thank you for watching. I hope you learned something from this demonstration. And if you have any comments, use the comment section below and the links in the description of the video. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.